Welcome to Backyard Oasis, a podcast designed by and for older adults living in the beautiful Pioneer Valley of Western Massachusetts and produced in the tech studios at Greenfield Community College in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Backyard Oasis reaches out to older adults who seek knowledge to help them live more thoughtfully, healthily, and happily, who hope to inspire others with their ideas, and who serve their communities in the interest of the greater good. We hope you join us frequently in our pleasant Backyard Oasis for wide-ranging conversations with a diversity of people who are growing older and want to talk about it.
Okay, hi, I'm Gloria, and I'm here to talk to my mentor/friend about the upcoming AI that is coming on us, but is really already here. So with not a lot of introduction, I'm going to pass to my friend, Anne, who will tell us who she is and how she ended up here, please.
Hi, my name is Ann Wiley, and I ended up here because I was Gloria's professor at Greenfield Community College, where I taught for 48 years, and I taught primarily psychology and gender and women's studies. How I came into thinking about and being a presenter most recently about AI was I got concerned both from young people's use of AI that I saw in college papers, but also I now am a cyber senior citizen tech tutor at a local senior center, and they asked me to do a presentation on AI, which is now up on YouTube. So if you are interested, you can just look up my name, Ann Wiley, an AI presentation. So I think one place I like to start with AI is like, what is it? And what do we need to know about it? And why it might be dangerous, or at least we should have some cautions using AI. So one of the things I'll just say in general is there are three types of AI. One we're very, very familiar with. That would be what I call traditional AI. It is everything we're already, if you use Alexa or Siri or any of those kinds of
Even spell check.
Even spell check or grammar check or anything like that. That's they're using a background of AI to help you do those kinds of things.
So it's already built into our systems, our phones, our TVs, our electronics.
That's correct. And the other thing that is an issue and perhaps a challenge is that it is just everywhere and becomes so ubiquitous that we don't even realize we're using AI. For example,
Definitely.
If you listen to an article that's got an automated voice,
This is what I was doing.
you are using AI.
Yes, and I did not know until you told me. And you
Yes.
said this is AI. And I use that feature because I'm hard of seeing, and it's easier for me to hear it. I've been using the library, the one you get the tapes on with the books, since I was in school, and now I just find it a lot easier, but I did not know I was using AI, and I think it's very important for us to know if we're using it, when we're using it. So
Right.
Please continue.
And one of the things I like to, if I might say, is that there's nothing inherently wrong with AI. It's humans' use of AI. Just as when radio came to be in the 30s
Yes.
and TV came to be in the 60s and 70s.
Or even automobiles. I mean, there were a lot of accidents because we didn't know we needed seatbelts, et cetera, airbags, et cetera. We're in a new modern era. We have fast, fancy cars, whereas before they were just fast and not so fancy and people got hurt.
That's correct. That's correct. What we moved into and so the point that I want to make is about we want to somehow remain human while we're using AI, and we don't, if we are using AI, and we don't want AI to control us.
Yes.
Okay?
Agreed.
So The second kind of AI is what we call generative AI. AGI, you see, Gen AI. And those are all of the programs and software platforms that you may be familiar with because you're seeing next to your email or something. So, for example, Google uses Gemini. ChatGPT was one of the first, and certainly one of the first I encountered in the fall of 2022, and then more so in the spring of 23 and fall of 23 in my teaching. So ChatGPT, Gemini AI, Perplexity, Microsoft has its own Copilot, and in fact, Claude is another one. And so you hear all of those kinds of programs. And one of the things about generative AI is that they've made it easy enough with these platforms for anyone to use.
Right.
However, you need to be very aware of you may not be getting accurate information. And so that's an issue. And the third kind of AI is what they're just moving into now, which sort of upsets or concerns me a great deal, is what they call agentic AI. And that's where AI is making the decision for you. So, for example, the ones we probably are most familiar with are drones. So drones, whether they're delivering a package or whether they're delivering armed missiles.
I was going to say, or an explosive.
Those are it's guided by the person who's sending it off, but it could be guided by this concept of agentic AI.
Or it's sort of running itself.
Correct. So those of you who can go really far back to 2001, A Space Odyssey.
It's a great movie.
The end of the film ends with Dave saying to Hal,
Yes, Hal.
"Open the door, Hal."
Yes.
I can't do that, Dave. And that's a real sort of, if you will, cultural example of agentic AI.
Also, just for the point of movies, I think a lot in the scientific movies when the AI goes awry and takes over the universe, that's the kind they're talking about.
Exactly.
That's the Battlestar Galactica AI that we should all be very concerned about.
Right. Now, some people want to know, in my situation, do I use AI? And the answer is sort of yes and no. You already heard that I might listen to an article or I might have a voiceover in a book, a newspaper article. That might, in fact, be how I use AI. I occasionally write something and I want AI to write it again, and then I would do a contrast and compare. It could be as simple as an email, it could be a newspaper article, it could be a letter to a family member that I'm feeling I must think through what I write. And so AI can help you do those kinds of things. I tend to use Perplexity and not the more corporate ones not that Perplexity isn't corporate too, but that's the one I tend to use. But I try to be very cautious about using AI because you don't always get a good answer. You don't even always get a good comparison for looking at an essay or a piece of writing you've done.
Okay. And so for me, with the people I'm seeing is I'm 46 years old. I can't believe I said that out loud, but I did. And most of the people my age or younger are using the ChatGPT because they believe they can put information in, like, I want to start a company in selling shoes. And the ChatGPT is going to lay me out a 27-point plan like I didn't go to college to teach me how to sell shoes in the main market, say, for example. That's mostly where I'm seeing it with the younger people. And obviously, I'm not a teacher, so I don't see people on their school exams. But my understanding is for young people in school is that the AI, kids, they're going to want to use it. It's like I wanted to use my calculator when I was in school, again, pointing out my age. But I wasn't allowed to. They would want me to show my math, which was an important thing, and I didn't realize, but was important because they were trying to see that I could critically think, which is like the important part around students, right? You want to know that they can critically think when they read a book. Can I digest this information? Can I give it back to you in a way that is actually learning what I'm trying to teach you?
And there are several resources that people can make them available to themselves. I tend to use the Pew Research Center, which looks at the social science and looks kind of at how do people interact with technology in general or social media or AI. And their recent study tells us that 57% will use it to search for information. But then you get down to summarize an article, book, or video, and it's 42%. So, and this is just in the last year. So we know that teens from the ages of 13 and 17, high school, are using it to do their homework.
Such a critical age, though.
And so is it their writing then, or is it AI's writing?
And that's where it gets confusing for me, and why I had you on.
Yep, and that really is a problem, not only for the student, but it's also a problem for the teacher. It's also a problem for our larger society.
Right.
Because in fact, we do want people to think critically about everything.
Everything, right.
You know, we want them to think about where their food comes from. We want them to think about how politics is important and is personal. This will age me, but the famous saying from Carol Hamish is, the personal is political and the political is personal.
Excellent.
So what happens in your town, what happens in your state, what happens in your country does in fact impact you.
Oh, and I've learned recently everything is also local. You have to pay attention locally. It helps a lot. So my question to you is, I've noticed a very, and I don't know if this is a gender thing. It might be more men than women, and I'm not sure on like the background of that. But I've gotten some feedback from younger folks who are using the middle one with the ChatGPT, and they're using it as like a friend or a romantic partner even, and saying like, I feel less lonely. And I'm just wondering if that's even really true.
Yes, it is. And the American Psychological Association, anyone can go on that website. Much of it is free. It is just www.apa.org. And they do show that people are looking for what they call synthetic, not real, relationships.
Right.
And that they are using. And we have the case just from April of 2025 where Adam Rain died by suicide because he was using it, and his parents knew he was using it, but they didn't quite know to the extent. So that's why if you're an adult in a household or a teacher in a classroom or a supervisor in a workplace, you need to be asking your young person, 13 to 25, asking them questions. How are they using AI? The other things it says is that the APA documents is that the more you use an AI chatbot as a companion or as a connection, and not a real person where you're having a connection with. Even if you were having a connection on the phone or texting, we're talking about a person who's relying on this AI chatbot.
Yeah, it's only like their only friend.
And they will become more and more and more lonely.
Really?
Because it is not real human connection. And so that
synthetic.
And that goes back to that first part I talked about. We want to somehow pay attention to AI, yet remain human, and insert humanness into our use of AI.
So like you said, using it as a tool maybe because you want to make your project better is not maybe the worst idea. And like you said, it's a lot like who is doing it? Who is the maker of the AI? Who is the maker of the project? It's like we can all do bad things. It's like if you use it for bad, it's going to be bad is what you're saying. And arguably, clearly, we need oversight.
Right, and the AI and the APA says there's two kinds of oversight we need. We need government oversight, that is, whether it's local and in the schools. So we can think of some uses of after some of the social psychologists wrote about how it was disrupting learning in schools. They've now gone to putting the phone in a pouch, and they can't use it except during their free times, or not bring it at all to school. Jonathan Haidt, the social psychologist from New York University, says you shouldn't even give a smartphone to a teenager until they're 14 or 16. He's saying if you feel like you need to have connection, which we all feel like as adults when there are young people in our lives, we need to feel connected with them, you can give them a flip phone, and you can put limited time on it. And those
I
kinds
think
of
parents
things.
can also fix the phone that it only calls their parents should
Right.
there be an emergency. Because I hear a lot of people say, well, if there was an emergency, I want my kid to have a phone, which is fair, I guess. But I don't have children, so I don't know. But it's like,
Right.
then it only calls you. So maybe
So
figure that
that's
out.
one kind of regulation, government regulation, and I was taking it down to the sort of local.
Oh, right,
and
and then
school.
the school, yeah.
The second kind of regulation is the company themselves have to put more in place in terms of guardrails. Now, we know that some of the guardrails don't work.
I was going to say, but can we even at all rely on companies to put up guardrails?
Well,
or
they
should
aren't-
we be looking more to our federal and local leaders?
Well, I think that's a debate that's going on in the United States. In other places like New Zealand and Australia, Canada, and the European Union.
Okay, so yet to be determined.
They are putting guardrails on the corporations and the companies.
Right.
I mean, they're gathering input through the people and the citizens and making decisions.
Right.
It's not at all unlike sort of the unfolding of, and this probably may not be quite a good example, but the unfolding of what schools and communities decided to do about bullying. First it was at the very local level, and let's, make sure people, I'm talking about physical bullying or name calling within a classroom, not
Right.
even digital. And so we looked at that first, and then it got expanded to, we should have some community values
Right.
that don't let bullying go on in the skate park, for example.
So you start sort of at the grassroots and then you grow out from there, not the other way around.
Well, I think you can do both simultaneously.
Okay,
you
gotcha.
You can put the regulations on the company, and we have a senator and a representative currently doing some of that in
Yes.
this country, which I can talk about in a few minutes.
Well, our state, luckily, but yeah.
What about AI taking jobs?
Yes, I mean, you hear all the time as a talking point, let's just say, that AI is going to take your job. Now, you are, as you said already, a professor, a teacher. Do you feel threatened that your job will be taken by a robot?
No, I don't, because
And please tell us why.
well, I'm going to use a much.
You
more
can use a better
I'm
example
going to
if
use
you
a
would
much
like than
more
teacher.
simple example of a sign that was seen by a friend of mine recently. Your hairdresser is not a robot, and they cannot cut your hair.
Well, this is true. I'm a hairdresser formerly.
So, but the reality is, we need to think about how AI can help us in our job.
It can be a tool, like you said. As a hairdresser, I could use AI as a tool to lessen my maybe physical demand on my hands. A lot of hairdressers get carpal tunnel from cutting and styling, whatever. But it's like, so we could use it as a tool. But like, do you want to completely trust this computer program that you're going to look the way you said you wanted to look when you walk out that salon? No, I doubt anybody's going to trust it that much.
Or hairdressers, in fact, have to deal with coloring and chemicals, and
Right.
that would be another thing that they could use AI to confirm their own knowledge base, maybe to confirm a class.
Oh, yeah,
they took.
definitely. Chemistry, for sure.
And
Yeah.
they could do that. But, AI is not going to take jobs. Companies right now are using that excuse and letting people go as saying that AI is going to take the job.
I agree, and that's maybe why I wanted to bring it up, because it just feels like that's what people are saying, and how can it be so widely untrue? Yet it is.
So what AI can do, and they've demonstrated that it can do, is that AI can do coding as fast or faster than humans. So if you're an engineer and you're coding, AI can help you write the code for that. But if you're a teacher or in any of the professions or even not professions, I mean, I certainly wouldn't want my plumber to rely only on AI. I want them to have some kind of background.
Is it anybody who works with critical thinking, to your point? If you need critical thinking, you need more than AI is just, or you can't just use it. You can use it as a tool, but not more than that, perhaps, or you
Yes.
wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think of AI as a tutor. So, for example, and I'll get back, so I'll give an example of the chatbots. My husband uses an AI tutor chatbot to engage in conversations in Spanish.
Right.
Because he can write in Spanish, he can hear Spanish and know what is being said, he can read in Spanish, but it's very difficult to think on your feet.
Yeah, he wants to become more fluent.
And he wants to become more fluent. And so the chatbot can help him, they go back and forth.
And does that help in that specific situation?
It does.
I would think it would. So okay.
So the way in which you gave the example of using a calculator, that, in fact, would be another, it's a tool.
Yes, it's a tool. That's all I was trying to point out with that.
So, and also, we have no idea where AI is going to go in the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And so how will humans, it's a bigger question, need to be thinking about their use of AI?
Right.
And, when I did that workshop for the seniors, they kept saying to me, where do they get all this information? Where did they find all this information?
From us.
From us, exactly.
We gave it to them. Or they stole it. I'm not sure which, but both maybe.
They took it.
They took it.
Without our permission.
Without asking, the greatest trick in the world.
Yes. And, whether it was taking it from an email that was up there on, and they took it. And that.
Or I think my generation a lot of times is you can't come in unless you agree to all the terms. And we just want to get in so bad we don't even read the terms. We're just like, click yes, and we're in. And that is maybe giving away my information.
Correct. And so even if you're in a Dunkin' Donuts or someplace else and you want to use their
mobile app,
you say, yes, I agree. And so that's also you're in a sense giving away your rights.
And some of those companies even sell that information to make profit, correct?
Correct.
So it's like they definitely have our information. That ship has sailed, I believe.
Correct. Well, yes.
But I mean, yes and no, because they continue to want our information, and there's a way to, like you're saying, the less you engage with it, the less they can take from you, and so forth. And if you're smart about how you engage with it, at least that way you can protect yourself to the best of your ability.
Yes, and if you practice what might be referred to as online safety and security, whether you have some sort of a virtual private network, VPN, that is protecting you. And those of you who read or watch mysteries and, somebody is typing in England, but it's going over to Scotland and then it's going to Ireland, and we don't know where that message came from.
Right.
So that's what a virtual private network can, it moves you away from where you really are sitting. But there are other ways just to regularly clean your email and your texts.
Yes, which I've admitted is a pain, but apparently it's very important.
It is. And I don't do it all the time too. So, I mean, it's important to understand you want to get into some practices that will help keep you from being surveilled. And surveillance is becoming a huge money maker for the data brokers.
Yes.
And also uses a great deal of the data server's space, which uses enormous amounts of clean water,
right,
as well as electricity, as well as it contributes to noise and air pollution, because they're 24/7 operations, and almost always they're setting up these data servers in rural communities,
right,
where government oversight is a town zoning committee,
right,
or a town council, and it's made up of citizens and volunteers who might not even know what they're letting in.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's an important point, because when I was even looking at this to prep for our conversation, it's like, and looking at the environmental points that you would be bringing up, I was surprised to learn that, not so much that they're well, first of all, that we even have data centers. I didn't even know that was. I knew they took the information from us. I guess I didn't realize there was a hard copy, so to speak. So, like, that's what you're saying is like all these things you just listed are them keeping it on a computer of their own, so to speak. And that so it's called a server. I'm talking it down for the people like me who really don't get it. You know what I mean? So they keep it on this server. They keep it on their own thing over there. And that costs electricity. It costs money. As to your point, it costs clean water because they take the clean water to cool it down. And that affects community. That affects women. That affects children. If you're black or brown, that affects you 3 times more than it does a white woman.
Correct. And I think the other thing to think about is think about your own computer, even the old computers that sat on a desktop.
Oh, yeah.
They got hot.
They get hot.
In the back.
They still do if you leave them on your lap and you type it long enough. I mean, I don't know, maybe my computer's old.
No, they do get hot. And so now you have to imagine thousands and thousands and thousands of these.
And then it's the water that so they take the clean water to cool it off. So they're taking your clean water, and then is it leaching into your soil? Is it leaching into the lands around that area, which would be farms normally?
Mm-hmm. First of all, they're pumping it out of the earth.
Okay.
First, they're taking it, and if you have a well to put water in the trough for your cows, or run the irrigation system on your farm, they're taking it. If you have a farmhouse on that farmland where now the data server is right next to it,
light and sound noise all the time. Like you have a newborn baby, but it's sound and light noise. Your sleep deprivation out.
And the water itself may begin to become embedded with sand and soil particles because they're using so much clean water.
Wow. Yeah, it's just shocking, really. But and with that, I mean, again, is that like a more of an oversight? Did they, for example, like how we said about our information when they took it and didn't even ask, like, is that similar? Like they have these places and we don't even know they're there and they're using our land and water without telling us, so to speak?
Well, I don't think we know where all of them are across the country. I certainly don't. I kind of know where one is being planned right near here.
Oh, really?
Near Agawam and Springfield. Now, whether in fact they'll get it built, I don't know. I know there's one in Louisiana. I know there's several in Illinois. I know there's several in Texas. So, they are in our backyards, and more are being attempted to be built. And that is where national legislation now in place by Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the House.
She's from New York, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They have entered suggested legislation to put a moratorium on building more data centers, to just slow it down and look at the environmental
Seems
impact.
pretty like oversight to me.
Yes.
I like that. I'm not mad at that. Okay. Good for you, Bernie and AOC. Okay.
So could I go back?
Of course.
Well, one of the things we might want to talk about is if you, in fact, do want to use AI, you can look up and search, and you don't even have to use AI to do this. You can simply use a Google search, or what I do is I use DuckDuckGo.
Why don't you tell them? Because I've already now downloaded that. That's my new thing because I've learned things, and I've changed my ways, which is to get the DuckDuckGo.
So DuckDuckGo, one of the benefits of DuckDuckGo,
which is free.
It is free. Over a Google search is that they don't generally keep a history of the websites you've gone to. So then you don't have to go in and clean out your history.
So do you not have to also go in and close all your tabs?
Yeah. I mean, you can leave tabs open. You can leave tabs open with both of them, but DuckDuckGo will just help control a little bit of that.
So they're doing a little oversight on DuckDuckGo.
Correct. They've
great.
set up some guardrails.
So if we want some built-in guardrails, get that.
If you want to know if you want to ask AI a good question and get a decent answer, you have to use what they call an AI prompt.
Right. Speak on the prompts if you could for a moment.
Yeah. The better the prompt is, the better, obviously, the information you're going to get in return. See, you want to define the task, to narrow it down. So I'll give an example that came out of the senior citizen workshop I did. One of them, they're hiring a new senior-centered director. So they wanted to know some good interview questions to ask. So you have to define, I want to know specific questions I should ask for hiring a new senior-centered director that's of this size, in this size town.
Yeah,
the more specific you are, the better answer you're going to get.
Okay, so the more specific, the better the prompt.
Yes.
Got you. Okay.
And you also want to provide the context. In this context, it was a senior citizen center. You know, it was a senior center.
Right.
You want to provide clear instructions. So you're kind of asking AI to, okay, I want open-ended questions, you know, like tell me more about your experience of working with citizens of this age group. And then who is the person or the target audience? So in this case, it was the search committee. And you always want to ask open-ended questions. If you think about what you learned in 5th grade,
if I can remember 5th grade, yeah.
You had to ask those questions: who, what, when, where, and why.
Oh, who, what, where, when, how? Yes,
right. And so those are the kinds of things that you want to be thinking, and you want to make the AI prompt as specific as you can. And then you can use any one of, I named 5. You know, you can use any one of those. Even ChatGPT, although I avoid ChatGPT because I don't like the ethics of the principal executive director, Sam Altman. I think that he's not as, and there is a morality to the use of this. Well, right away, taking our material without really asking us, or asking us in a hidden behind, you know, this 5-6 page
thing, yeah.
You know, I've given permission. So some sample prompts that I used that show some complexity. Explain the role, and again, I'm coming from my perspective, but you could probably get a sense of this. Mm-hmm. Explain the role of using role plays in teaching a psychology course in a community college. The context is there, what you want is there, the role plays, and a specific course. Or describe the best gift for an 8-year-old girl that promotes critical thinking about future career possibilities.
I see what you're saying. So it's like anything. You ask a better question, you get a better answer.
Correct.
Got it. That's very good, yeah. No, I like that. It's better because, like, for example, to your point even about the last question, I think I asked Google last year, what do I get an 8-year-old girl for Christmas? And I left it just like that, short, not very in-depth. And I should have put more in-depth, to your point, a better prompt. And now, moving forward, I could do that because we have the AI. And it just gave me back standard things for an 8-year-old girl, which a lot of it did not fit what I was looking for. So, yeah, ask a better question, get a better answer.
Yep. So, but there are cautions from research.
Okay, please tell us the caution so we can caution ourselves.
I mean, and I've already hit on it a little bit.
Yep.
One of the cautions from research, obviously, is surveillance. That they are surveilling us.
Yeah, of course.
And watching us. And, you know, you can say to yourself, well, what does it matter? You know, I'm just looking this particular thing up about what to buy for a holiday gift for my 88-year-old grandmother, you know, but it does matter.
It does. It's an invasion of privacy, first of all. Like when I, for example, got the report card I didn't ask for that we all got from social media, where it was like, because of my searches, they decided I was this kind of person. I lost my mind. And I think a lot of Americans did. I did not ask for a report card. No. And then it's like telling me I'm a 14% wandering something. It's like, no, you totally are wrong because you clearly didn't take statistics in college where they teach you that, you know, not everything is like that. It's like you assume that I'm the only person using my device right off the bat when you sent me that report card. That's like a bias. We learn about that in school. Oh, it's critical thinking, right?
Right.
But no, they didn't realize that even when my report card, they just sent it back. When it's like, I'm not the only one who uses my device. My whole house uses my device. So yeah, there's a whole lot of wanderers in there. We got a lot of different, ideas of what we want to look at. So it's different. I'm not that unique. It told me I was,
And what you're talking about is that the programs and the software that they're improving every day are looking at algorithms and trying to make predictions based on what they see. And like you've just said.
Based on what I was listening to, my music choices, what I had Googled, etc. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to let you know.
No.
And to the point where you're saying it has, not to interrupt you, sorry, just one more quick thing about AI is really in the hands a lot of times with the person using it. Because my sister, for example, used one of these tools where she made a movie and it was like timed perfectly, where her and the kids were making pasta at the house, and she used a song from when we were kids in it, and it was like perfect, great. It was like it looked like a professional film, I was like, wow, this is really cute, and it was just like so she could show me the kids and where they're at right now, sharing with her sister. But it was like she doesn't use AI in her work, and this was just like a fun little side project, But now I'm like, with what I've just learned here, it's like, I wonder if they took the pictures of the kids. Like, are they in the AI Zeist, if you will, now? So are they part of that? Like, should she have done that? Or is it like, it's hard to tell parents for me, especially because I don't have children, but it's like my sister has 3 children. And it's like, you're right. First of all, the kids want to be on the computers. They want to be on all these things. So you have to, like, do that as the parent, and I'm sure that's hard right there, just to be like, no, you can't do the screen time 24/7. I'm sure that's like the worst thing. And then when you do let them, my niece did not make it. She's only 8. My sister made it, who is 3 years younger than me. But it was very interesting. It was a very nice film, and I loved getting it, and it made me feel happy. But then now that I think, like, what went into making it, I'm like, I wonder if all that's, like, up there now, or I don't know what to call it, up there, out there. Like,
in the
I'm
cloud.
not very technical. So, like, I'm not a tech girl. So, yeah, but she did make it. So
Right. And
it seems innocent, but is it innocent? I definitely did not, where my behavior has changed. 10 years ago, I would have immediately posted that on my Facebook or my Instagram to share it with what I consider my friends and family. Whereas now I didn't post it at all because I never post children on my Instagram anymore, because whether they're my cousins, sisters, niece, nephew, whatever, because I've just heard too many bad things about that. Well, so it's hard to know,
Yep, and I think that caution, I can give a concrete example.
Go ahead.
So Facebook allows you to allow a younger child to use what they call kids Facebook Messenger. And so if you don't want your child using a texting app on a phone, but they have a pad, an iPad.
Or a lot of them have the pads.
Yeah, a ThinkPad or something, or a game pad even sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of these games have
so
that.
You can use. So I was Facebook messaging my 11-year-old grandnephew, and he's very artistic and very clever and tries to make his own movies and is learning how to do that kind of thing. But he wanted to know, because I sent him a book called AI Bias for Kids, and he wanted to know, well, give me an example. And so I wanted to send him a picture of a short video of the robotic dogs from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. But Facebook Messenger for Kids would not allow me to do that.
Oh, so there was some
controls.
That's
and
good.
that is the way his mother has put a control on.
Which I had mentioned earlier. It's up to the parent, unfortunately.
He can't easily go in and seek out a video like that, nor could I, who was trying to give him an example. I couldn't even send him a photo.
Well, I mean,
Messenger.
I'd rather hear that than that he could get, and I know it's like nothing untoward here because who you are, but it's like, hey, if this is the way his parents said it, that's the way it should work, frankly, in my book. So it's like good. I'm glad it didn't go
He
through.
does, as an 11-year-old, have his own YouTube channel. However,
his own YouTube channel. He's out here beating me, guys.
Nothing goes up on that YouTube channel.
And also, like, I like to remind people, look, at the end of the day, if you're confused, you can always go to the library. I couldn't even find my way to this appointment, and I stopped at the library to get directions. The library will always help you out and find the truth with you.
That is true. That is true.
And it's free. Again, I love free things. So there you go.
I know we're coming probably to...
Yeah, I think we're good on time here but if you have anything you want to add.
Well, you wanted me to talk a little bit more, and we've sort of started and gave some examples with children, but you wanted me to talk a little bit more about kind of online use and abuse, particularly as it pertains to women.
Yes.
And so there's a journalist in Britain named Laura Bates, and she wrote a book called The New Age of Sexism. And the point that she has made is that there's these kind of deep fakes that can be made of videos, and you have no idea that it's not a real video, and it can be something very innocent,
Yeah.
2 raccoons are chasing a cat and it looks real, but it really isn't real. It's made with the tools that AI provides for you to make it.
Right.
They can make very realistic videos.
Well, they're already out, to be honest, and that's the real scary part. Is like those videos are now becoming part of our daily intake on the social media platforms. These AIs where there are a lot of people who cannot tell the difference between fake and real with that AI.
Correct.
Just right up front.
And again,
it's only going to get worse, I think.
In other countries where there is the regulations and the company has some guardrails, you can put in place some kind of a watermark or a thing. So this 11-year-old nephew of mine, he could show his grandmother how the slight distortion on the video, so that he could tell.
It's funny the 11-year-old could tell, but not the grandmother, when it should be the other way around. But it's not, right?
But he's familiar with.
And they go to look. They're growing up with it. It's like they probably do know better than us.
So the author, when she was writing this book and interviewing over 200 individuals, she had death threats and rape threats
I believe
to
it.
her own account.
Yeah.
And so that's also a problem.
So, like, I know, and this could be separate but similar. But so when she was on her own personal account, now I get a lot of people sometimes like that, and some of them, it's very clear they're not real people. So that's the AI, right? Again, just being fake people. Like, they have 0 followers, 0 posts, 0 anything, and you're like, who is this person cussing me out like they're my mama? And you look, and it's like nothing. There's nobody. There's no bio. There's nothing. There's like a picture of nothing.
Correct.
Not even a person. It could be like a ball.
It was both.
Yeah.
It was both. It was both real and not real. Bots, if you will.
So they are bots, and to that point, you just block them?
Well, yes, as much as you can.
Okay, yep.
But when you're doing a book like this...
You can't when you're an author. I understand the difference of obligation. Yeah, sorry. I just meant as for personal people with their personal grams
I think
and
what we need to do is, a better thing is to imagine an 11-year-old girl coming upon some of this material, and that she doesn't have the cognitive thinking ability to even sort it out, what's real and not real. And then what is the, if you will, the residue of psychological trauma that is then with her for going
into
a lifetime,
depending on what she saw.
Right. And so if we want to also become more trauma informed as a community, we need to be thinking about the online community and how that impacts us.
I really do, from all of it, really, because there's just so much, even before when you were talking about the suicides and stuff. And then I think for women, for me, I know, I'm just going to speak for myself, like the AI thing is so much scarier to me as a female, because I think first of all, I used to have an approach to life which has not served me. This is going to be a little tangent about me, but this is why we started the podcast from my perspective, not so much my guests, which is that I used to think if things were too hard, I would not do them because they were hard and I didn't want to be bothered when I was young. You know, like, for example, the computers. I say I'm not very tech savvy. I'm not. Because when they first came out, I was about to graduate high school, I think. So I didn't grow up with them. They weren't a part of my reality growing up. And they were very expensive when they first came out, so there was no way I was going to get one. And I just thought it would be easier for me to ignore it all. That was my approach to everything in life, not just tech, but like many things. And that comes from probably my own trauma in my childhood. But my point being that I found out just very recently that this is a very bad approach to things because they don't necessarily go away. Like, it was like I was closing my eyes hoping the computers would go away. And now it's like, not only did they not go away, we have computers and AI. And now I just have to learn two things. So burying your head in the sand, take it from me, doesn't always help you out as much as you would think.
I would call that learning to learn. And so that we need a lifetime of approaching new topics, even though they can sometimes be somewhat scary. We need to approach new ways of doing things so that we can continue to learn. And that certainly, if you had asked me 3 years ago what I knew about AI, other than ChatGPT, I knew very little because I hadn't even looked at the professional organizations that I generally go to, like the APA or the Pew Research. But there are so many more resources out there now. The book I referred to earlier, for children, kid in middle school and a little bit younger, children about the bias in AI, is by a woman by the name of Avril Epps, EPPS, and she's an MIT professor, and she's working with AI.
Right, and even the woman who said was writing the book, she's writing a book about AI.
Correct.
So it's like, what with the death threats?
But they're still examining it with critical thought and examination about maybe this isn't as good as we should think about it, and we should think more about it.
If anything, it probably helped her write her book and tighten up some of her thoughts, I'm guessing. But and I hate to see it because, nobody likes to be a part of that, and it just hurts us as women. Obviously, I feel that way.
So I guess the only other resource, so I've talked about the Laura Bates book. I've talked about the American Psychological Association. I've talked about the Pew Research Center, and I've talked about Avril Epps, the one who works at MIT. I think the only other website that I go to often is a New Zealand website, and it's two parents, one that worked in in the computer and the software industry, and one that was made products to sell. And so he was so it was the husband and wife team, and it's called Artificiality. And they have a YouTube, and they have an Instagram. She does really short little 5-minute Instagram, and she's the one who's talking about AI is not going to take our jobs away.
Right. And I think very much since I've learned just what I've learned about AI, to your point, which isn't very much. I'm sure I could learn a lot more. But what I've learned so far is they're not going to take our jobs because it's like you need critical thinking. And it's like even then they'll be used as a tool to assist in our jobs. But you'll still need to, not only do we need oversight on AI, but you'll need to oversight that AI, if you know what I'm saying, to make sure do it right and et cetera, et cetera.
And you said earlier, go to the library to get directions. And so
the library will never steer you wrong, no matter what. The truth, if you need to know the truth, get to the library. They got all the books, and they're going to help you, too.
And almost all public town libraries, even in our area of rural Massachusetts, have people who run tech help 2 or 3 times a week for 2 hours.
That's great.
And librarians often can help you.
Well, that's what I was saying about librarians. At the end of the day, they can be your best friend. If you need help with something and you really don't know, go in and ask for help, and they will help you find the help if they can't help you themselves, because they're very helpful people. That's all I know. And I remember originally when this all started back in the dark ages. We're really aging ourselves now, but it was librarians who did not want to release what books you took out from the library first. They were like, why do you want to know what people read? They were the first ones to critically ask that question way before AI. So, I will always, know that the librarian, and they've just been a big part of my life. I mean, the library will always help me out, and I've always read because it will always help you out. But, I just would say, even this morning when we woke up, I don't know how much time we have either, but I saw that Taylor Swift now, one of my favorite artists, is taking her voice and she's copywriting her voice and a couple of key phrases that she says often, as well as her likeness, her voice, her overall vibe, because of AI specifically. And hey, look, I'll just say it because we all know it's happening. Our administration is using a lot of artists without their permission to run their songs for war clips and videos, propaganda, let's just call it what it is. It's propaganda, okay? And like when you use Taylor Swift and you're like using that to use a video game to pretend blow up people, it's like, yeah, Taylor Swift was not amused, so she called her lawyers like she always will do, which is like how you do it when you're Taylor Swift. And I wrote in her chat that I said, well, I don't blame her with what I've learned about AI this week. Taylor Swift definitely needs that. And someone else wrote back to me, all artists are at risk from AI. And I wrote, I couldn't agree more with you, and wrote back to them. Because it's like, yeah, I mean, whether you're an artist like Taylor Swift in the top 25 or you're not in the top 25, you just started. And it's like, how do you, and that is maybe a whole nother conversation for another day, because it's like, how do you put your art on if you can't watermark it like that one company was allowing that person that you were telling the story about to do? It's like, and even then, is the watermark enough? It's like a whole conversation that I'm sure we could get into with artists that know more about it than us, because we're not experts, to your point, but we're like cracking the surface here so people can at least understand there's different types, kinds that we're already using. We can't really do much about that. If you use autocorrect, right? Right? Maybe use it less if you want, but you're going to have to become a better speller, and like probably that ship sailed, right? So that, and then like, but when you use it, be aware of how you're using it, use the good prompts if you can, and like just, it's really about awareness. Like everything else in life, I think it's about knowing it and making sure you have a working knowledge.
Right, and make conscious decisions of when you use it and why you're using it.
Right.
You know, could something else answer your questions?
True.
Could you go and have a cup of coffee with someone who might know more about creativity and culture and the use of AI, and talk to you for a half an hour over that cup of coffee or tea?
Definitely.
You know, so I think that's...
And like in my case, I have you. You're my mentor. I would talk to you over a cup of coffee. So I have that. But like, yeah, people, you got to get with people. And I would for my generation and younger, I'm going to continue to emphasize that. I know you think this makes you feel less lonely, but actually ChatGPT being your only friend is not going to lead you to less loneliness. In fact, it could lead you straight to suicide, apparently.
Yeah,
so,
well, at least in a couple of cases.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, nobody wants that outcome, and unfortunately, but if they wrote down why, then it's upon us to look at why, you know, and try to do better as a culture.
Right.
And yeah.
So I think, you know, it sounds like at some point you might want to investigate the creative, you know, interview and talk with a person that knows more about creativity and use of AI that may or may not be useful in their paintings or their photographs or their playwright or whatever.
Yeah, stay tuned for part 2 someday, where it will be me with someone else who knows more about the artistic part of it. And like, if you write a book, for example, with the AI, which they say you can do now, do you own the book or does AI own the book? You know what I mean? Like, and now even they have a girl out, starts with a T, I think it's Trina, stuff like that. She's completely AI. She's a pop star. She's an actress, and she's not real. And that's a whole thing that's happening now. So it's like, it's very much here. So I think I'm just trying to, if you could pick up one thing today and walk away with it, and then, hey, you did you. So good job. And it's really hard, but keep at it and learn and get yourself a real life friend.
and set up yourself for learning to learn.
Learning to learn. I call it a curiosity to learn. Mm-hmm. If you have a curiosity to learn, read books, you know, you're that kind of person, you're probably going to be okay. I just think it's smart to raise the awareness that while there's so much, very much going on, it's important to pay attention to. I agree with what the other woman said. It's the new look at feminism in a way. Also, it's just such a part of our lives now that not just the AI, but the social media, AI, computers, we're turning into these people. So we're going to have to learn how to navigate that.
Yes. So thank you very much for having me as your first guest. And
well, thank you very much for helping me out and for helping us all out to understand AI in our everyday lives and to know what we should do to better ourselves if we can. Thank you.
This concludes today's podcast. We're always looking for new ideas, so feel free to reach out to Judy Raper, Associate Dean of Community Engagement at Greenfield Community College, at 413-775-1819. If you have an idea you'd love to share. Special thanks to the creators of Backyard Oasis, Denise Schwartz, Chad Fuller, Dennis Lee, and Christine Copeland. Have a great day.